So there's a patient in the pedigree with a red arrow that has PKU. She is pregnant and wants to know the probability of her baby having PKU. So just know that, so this is the patient we're talking about, a red arrow. And then also if it's colored in, it means that the patient is affected. So she has a autosomal recessive disease, right? Because PKU is autosomal recessive. So that means she has 2 recessive alleles. So she, her family, and her husband are all non-Hispanic Caucasian ethnicity living in Wisconsin. So this is actually from the last problem, so you can actually watch the last video I made to look at how I got this, but this is just a continuation. So we know that 2% of Caucasians are heterozygous carriers for PKU, right? So now how do we solve this problem? So we know that she's affected, and so now we're trying to figure out the genotype of the dad to figure out the probability of PKU in the child. So we know the genotype for the mom is AA because she's affected, so that means it has to be homozygous recessive. But the dad is not affected, so it cannot be homozygous recessive, right? Another thing is she wants to know the chance of the kid having PKU, so it can't really be homozygous dominant, because then it would just be 0%, right? So the chance has to be from if the husband was a heterozygous genotype. So what is the chance of the dad being a heterozygous genotype? Well, we figured that in the last problem, it's 2%. So we would think we're done, right? But that would be a mistake, because so that's the 2% is just the chance that the dad is a heterozygous, right? He's a carrier for PKU. But now we need to figure out what's the probability of the child getting the disease. So this is the multiplication rule, right? Because what we're doing is we have a 2% chance that the dad will be a carrier, right? He'll be a heterozygous genotype. And then it'll be 1/2 chance, right? That he'll give the recessive allele to the child. So it's 2%, right, times 0.5, which will equal 1%, right? So there's only a 1% chance the child will have PKU. If you think about this logically, this makes sense, right? Because the mom will always give a recessive allele, so we don't even have to take her into account. So we only have to take into account of the likelihood that the dad will have specifically this genotype, right? So the chance of him having a heterozygous carrier genotype, right, is 2%, and we figured that out. And then the chance of him giving the recessive allele is half, right? Because it's 50-50. He can either give the dominant allele or the recessive allele. So the chance of him giving the recessive allele is 50%, and so 2% times 0.5 is equal to 1%. So that's how this question works. So I hope that helped, and thanks for watching.